and welcome to the NFT Studio 24 podcast. NFT Studio 24 is a global educational media platform where we empower emerging world of Web3, the metaverse, and NFTs by reporting on the most authentic news. Our interviews with various figures are focused to highlight. Now we have two very special guests. In today's episode, we will be interviewing two well-known personalities in the Web3 gaming industry and members of the Blockchain Game Alliance. So first, we have Martin Spinetto, who is the CEO and co-founder of Widow Games, having over 5 years experience in gaming. And we have Martin has held many executive positions and deeply understands this industry very well. And our second guest, we have Iasi Solomon, and here's the eSports manager of LATAM for Sky Mavis, which is the creator company behind the biggest Web3 game, Axie Infinity, which we all know. And Iasi has diverse knowledge about the eSports industry, and he will be sharing his insights and experience with us. You guys, thank you so much for joining us. This is quite special because our guests are usually from all over the world. Where are you guys joining us from?
In my case, first of all, thank you very much for the invitation. It's a pleasure and an honor to be invited. I'm basically right now in Buenos Aires, Argentina, in South America.
Wonderful.
Again, thanks for the invitation. It seems like a great coincidence that both of the invited people are from Argentina. In my case, I'm from Rosario. Right now, the World Cup is ongoing at the time of this record, so we are cheering for Argentina right now. Like we're hoping it gets done.
Well, I'm not going to be biased, but I will share my excitement. I'm also rooting for Argentina. So I'm from Colombia, so it's hard not to to cheer for our neighbors. So that's where I stand
sure
there.
Thing. LATAM forces unite.
So let's kick things off. You guys have incredible experience in this industry. So Martin, so we're going to start off with you. So can you introduce us to the Widow Games and how it is different from other Web3 companies?
Okay, yeah, definitely. Widow Games is a video games developer company that we specialize in closing the gap between the physical and the digital world. So we started 10 years ago. So we have been developing, games for quite a while. We developed more than 30 mobile games in this time being. We have 1.4 million subscribers, especially coming from Latin America and Brazil as well. Wow. And we have in total 6.6 million downloads. And I would say that, in the current state of the industry, blockchain gaming, I would say that what makes us different is that we started from the freemium side. We have been there for many years, which is a totally different businesses like the blockchain gaming, and we're trying to unite them both. It's like for us, every game should have both platforms. Should start the customer journey from the freemium and then move to the play to earn on the blockchain side. And we are developing games based on that, and and so far it's working really good because we put the player in the center, not the technology, but rather the the human experience.
Well, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. So my curiosity regarding, do you guys speak in Spanish and English when you guys are onboarding your audience?
In our case, always in English. We are always a global company. Always in English. We work in Spanish because we are based in Argentina, and we have people in France, Italy, and in UK, but they speak Spanish as well. But for the user, it's always English. 100%.
Okay, wonderful. I asked that question because right now I'm in Miami, and a lot of the times when we educate people about NFTs and blockchain, I try to do it all in Spanish after, just to be able to, really reach a wide audience. Well, thank you for sharing that. So, Iasi, we already know how big Axie Infinity is around the world. Obviously, it's been incredibly popular. And, tell us a little bit about Sky Mavis and how eSports connect with Web3 specifically.
Yes, one thing about Sky Mavis and Axie Infinity that I would like to start talking about is that they are an entity that moves like a pair, let's say like the Earth and the Moon, but the reality of they are two separate entities. Sky Mavis is a private company that just happens to run Axie Infinity right now because Axie Infinity is a decentralized organization, or DAO. So Sky Mavis is the main holder of the AXS token, which is the governance token for Axie DAO. So that's why the development of Axie Infinity goes under Sky Mavis, right? So I believe this is the first thing I want to clear out, because there could be a future where the players decide which developer wants to run Axie Infinity in the future, right? That this is the ideal revolution of blockchain in itself, right? This governance systems that give a direct democracy to each individual that participates. So I wanted to get that clarified, because first it seems like they are together, but they are not. They are two separate entities, right? But Sky Mavis and Axie Infinity both have been grown a lot, like a great breakthrough in the last bull run of 2021. We have reached all over the world. The main mission for Axie Infinity is create a game that can empower the next generation of people with collectible assets in the metaverse, right? And eSports becomes, taking on Martin's words as well, a medium to connect the digital experience from the metaverse to the real experience in the real world, right? So in AxieCon, that has been our successful event throughout this year, that has been held in Barcelona, Spain, we could see the first grasp of what is the manifest of a metaverse in the real world, gathering together community developers that are dealing with us through the developers program, people from Sky Mavis that have been here, putting the foundational bricks of the Axie Infinity IP. And it was really magical seeing all that together, right? Like in the same place at the same time, sharing ideas freely. As an anecdote, I always remember when I first joined Axie Infinity, or just before that, Jiho, that is the CEO of our company, speaking in Twitter Spaces like it was one of everyone or each other. That doesn't happen in the corporate world that we are accustomed to. So this is the value that Axie Infinity brings to the table. The idea of a playing field, right, where every decision that is made from both people that are building from the inside and the community is equally important, and the success of the project goes with getting all together. So pretty excited for the future.
Well, thank you so much for breaking that down. It's very exciting. I mean, that's why we're definitely having this conversation with you. So Martin, moving towards play to earn games, a lot of people, those who play these games, but how about the people that rarely play these games? This concept is quite new to many, and some maybe even call it a scam, those that have no idea what this is, or it doesn't really mean anything. And I'm sure that's the type of conversations we're always having. What's your opinion on it, and does your company adopt this game model?
It's an excellent question, and to be honest with you, we are still discussing that, because I would say, in my personal opinion, the play to earn is an oversimplification, basically, because the reality is that the play to earn model, as we knew in the past, and I'm talking about past is a few months ago, basically,
I know, isn't that crazy?
It went so fast, and we thought it was it was pure and perfect. But the reality is that it's super hard to scale that, because in the real world, you cannot pay to anyone that is actually playing. It doesn't work like that. And if you do that, you will create a scheme that basically will last for a couple of months, and there you go. So I think that in a good way, the business models are evolving in a way that we would like to say, okay, because we are starting mobile, it's free to play, play to win, and win to earn. Which makes more sense. If you spend time playing the game, if you play right, you will make some money, and that's the reality of the Web3 component. That's good. But it's not that you connect and you connect one per day, 1 minute, and then you collect your money. That is not going to happen. And if you find a game doing that, for sure it's going to collapse, okay? Because they're giving out, tokens that are, basically falling every minute, because people go to an exchange and they sell tokens. So I believe that it was a good way to create hype, to raise awareness of what we're doing in the gaming space. But at the end of the day, it's something that we need to evolve and say, okay, it's not really play to earn, okay? It's, if you play and you play right, you can make something. But I don't think that you will eventually, and especially in tier 1 countries, not emerging countries, tier 1 countries, you won't sustain your family playing a game, okay? You can make some dollars, and it's another factor, but the most important factor is that it's fun to play, that is entertainment, and that's the beauty of that. And then you can make some dollars, but you won't buy a car with that, okay? You have to do something else. Or you can be a professional, that's another thing, okay? If you're a professional and you work, and your part of work is gaming, and you are an eSport professional, that's a totally different thing, okay?
Of course.
And I respect that. I think that is really good for the businesses. But we have to be aware that not everyone is capable of doing that, and it's a very hard job. You need to train, you need to compete, you need a sponsor. It's not easy, okay? So we love to defend, the fun factor in that sense. At the end of the day, it's a game, okay? And if you can make $1, that's good, that's perfect. It's your reward, but play it because it's fun and not because you're going to have $1 or $2 more.
Yeah, Martin, that was such a great explanation. We have these conversations with people all the time, but I think that was the first time that it was broken down so simple and people understand. I mean, just because we can drive doesn't mean we're a professional, race car driver. So essentially, right? So thank you.
Exactly.
I mean, that's how I was able, that's honestly, I'm going to steal that. So thank you so much. And that was a very honest example. So thank you so much for that. And so Iasi, so far we have Axie Infinity. It has become incredibly successful to leading play to earn games. So how do you educate the public about NFTs and digital currency to new players overall?
Okay, so I need to say that I really agree with what Martin said about NFTs and play to earn on all that. I think that's a really piece of valuable information there. So you should listen to it again if you were distracted. So coming back to your question, I think that we need to think in two ways. The first way is education. Why NFTs are so important, and this brings if you see Axie Infinity beyond its immense universe or immense possibilities of creating a universe or creating a great experience. If you see it, as a people that are not too keen of gaming or are not too keen of those things, you need to understand there were lots of people, really lots of people that discovered blockchain or made its first interface with blockchain through Ronin Network. Many of the Ronin Network users were first wallet users. So definitely Axie Infinity makes the case that gaming can be a driver to mass adoption of blockchain worldwide. And I think that that's a thing that we need to pay attention. Obviously, when I say this, I want to address another thing. We are not competing ourselves for product market fit with games. We need the space to flourish and create a broader economy, right? Up to this moment, right? Because yes, you may see that the market or the crypto space really big compared to 2018, but in comparison to the real economy, let's say, using real between quotes, right? We are still very little that know and understand blockchain or transacting blockchain because it simplifies our lives, or we believe in the core values, or we believe in the solutions that blockchain can bring. So we are in this very early stage, and gaming it's a sweetener for Like, let's say you want to drink a coffee. If you do a coffee like really, really strong, it will be really hard for you to drink it, right? Because it's an acquired taste. We can think of gaming as that sweetener that makes discover all the things that coffee might bring to your life, like the taste, the joy, maybe the energy that comes beyond that. So that's one thing that I would say for education on NFTs. I see all the NFT space as a great concept that can drive crypto to mass adoption. And then we can discuss about the thing about the earning versus the ownership of things, right? Like as Martin said, and I fully agree on this, like the play to earn was an oversimplification of the real movement that was going on. If we return in the history of gaming itself a little bit, I don't know if it was the first one, but we could say blockchain was invented in the early 2000s by World of Warcraft, right? You played, you earned some gold inside the game that was an inflationary coin, but still there was a lot of people willing to pay for your gold because they didn't want to farm power creeping for hours, so they went and buy your gold in the secondary market, right? But what is the great difference between blockchain gaming and the early days of World of Warcraft? Like selling gold was illegal beyond the terms of service. It was not compliant with the terms of service. So you assume the risk of your account and all your effort you put into creating your character, customizing your character, showing your swag. You could lose all of it because you wanted to make some profit. You make a side gig, in World of Warcraft Gold. I think the blockchain, what changes is like you now own that gold. That gold is yours. It's minted on an immutable ledger that you can change at any time, that you can see where the money comes from and where it goes to for eternity. And that validates a thing that was already happening in traditional gaming. So I would say, for an education standpoint, and why I joined Axie Infinity in the first place, is I believe NFT gaming is the future. There's no way around it, because these things already happen in Web2 gaming. So I would say that are the two more interesting things that I see in blockchain gaming. And in particular, there are two concepts that are still hard. I understand they are complex, like, let's say League of Legends. I'm a my esports career. I've done all my esports career in League of Legends, coaching teams throughout the years, right, and playing. Well, I have my account that I started in 2010. My account has, I don't know, 1,000, a bazillion hours played, right, and some skins that I bought with inside currency, but I don't own those skins. Riot Games can just ban my account, and all that money that I have spent, like thanking the game for what it's done to me, snap, gone in a second. That's not true in blockchain, and I think that's a great revolution, and what the players and people who understand blockchain need to talk about. Like, owning is the real revolution.
I love that. Like I said, you both have been able to really break it down for us. And I love the coffee example. Like we talk about NFTs. I won't take my coffee incredibly strong. A mí me gusta café con leche. You know what I mean? So it's a little bit more digestible for all of us. But I think that's really what it comes down to. It's like taking really complex concepts that may not seem complex for people that have been in Web3 for some times, but people like us, little by little, we're starting to understand the importance of it. So thank you so much for breaking it down like that as well.
I could add a little bit on that as well. Like this whole concept that I've been talking, and Martin has also been talking about, is called gamification, right? Like taking experiences that are complex or not too palatable, that feel like they are extra hard, and try to make it like sweetener for you to start and put yourself into rails. So gamification is happening also in workspaces, right? Like we're seeing Google or other tech companies, like real big, like worldwide, that need to start gamifying some experiences because people get tired and people need fun to keep being productive. So and I think to reflect on, just wanted to add that on top.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much. I love this conversation, so as we keep on diving deep, Martin, so how does Window Games educate users about the concept of the cryptocurrency, the metaverse, and of course, Web3, and what's the best way to teach young people about this brand new technology?
As I mentioned before, for us, everything starts on mobile, okay, on the premium side, where basically we have, hundreds of millions of people playing every day. It's the biggest market in terms of audience. So everything starts on mobile, and we like to teach them by the best way that you can teach something, by example, and not telling them, by showing them what the Web3 components might add, for them as a value added feature. So for instance, when now we are building this game called Geopoly. Geopoly is the definition of Geopoly is a perfect mix between the Monopoly and the Pokemon Go. In a way that you can walk around any city in the world and you can rent, upgrade, and sell real life properties wherever you are. Okay.
Oh wow.
So you play over a map, obviously, and you can do a lot of things with real things. So that is why we are closing the gap between the fantasy of the game, the gameplay per se, and then all the information that is real information is buying the restaurant that you go with your family, or renting that bar that you go with your friends. You can do that, and then you can swap that or trade that with a person playing in Japan for that sushi restaurant that he just bought. So what we do is that we start with the core gameplay, the core game loop on mobile, on the freemium, and then we start slowly adding Web3 components. For instance, you have soft currency and you have hard currency in the freemium side. Is you have coins and you have golden bars. Okay, the only way to get the golden bars were the ones that you can do more things in the game. You need to pay that with credit card. That's fine, perfect. The typical monetization for freemium. But when you buy a golden bar, we will automatically create an on-chain wallet for you, okay? A server-side wallet, okay? It's not going to be MetaMask. You don't have to pick 12 words and store that safely. That is not going to happen. We are just going to tell you, okay, we just created a wallet for you, okay? That you can recover your password wherever you want with your Facebook account, your Gmail account, whatever you have.
Oh, I love that.
And then, yeah, it's super easy, super transparent for you, and we're going to deposit the first non-listed tokens. And that is very important. And why non-listed tokens? Because it's something that it is an asset that you can trade with someone else, is on the blockchain, but because it is not listed in a public exchange, you are compliant with locations like in the US, for instance. Okay, so basically we will allow the people to start, using these Web3 components and even NFTs in that wallet, and being totally compliant with the App Store and Google Play. And then the third circle is basically when they start playing with that, and one moment they say, okay, now if you want, you can continue the game in Geopoly.io. You download the PC and Mac version, and you have all the features that you have on mobile, but also you can plug in your MetaMask, and you can have the listed token called Geos. Okay, so for us it's very important that you go through that process in a fun and entertainment way. Okay, we are not going to teach you about how blockchain works. You don't want that. You just want to have a great time, And the moment you realize that you have NFTs, that you have tokens, and even if you play right, you can withdraw that. Okay, not in the App Store or Google Play, but on the other version of the game, you can withdraw that and convert that to real money. That's the beauty of that, the beauty of the Web3 component, having real ownership of the things that you do in the game. Okay, that you create, even user-generated content that you can monetize. Why not? Okay, you can do that on the App Store. Okay, so again, to summarize for us is by example. We don't put a PowerPoint there explaining how it works. We basically, create this flow of very fun, different activities that you can do, and then we will let you know. Okay, yeah, now you don't even realize it, but now you're playing on the blockchain. Okay, welcome, and that's it.
I love that. I mean, it's kind of like that one-stop shop, and I don't have a seed phrase that I have lost, right?
Exactly. Now that scares a lot of people. It's like, what about these 12 phrases? And now I have to, what is an envelope? Okay, Polygon, Ethereum, what is that? A gas fee. So what we are doing is creating this wallet, server-side wallet, okay? And we pay for the gas fees. So you don't have that. You don't care about that, We are used to that in MetaMask, but for a new user, what is the gas fee? I have to put the money there. It doesn't work like that. The technology is getting up to speed. That is why, the first wave of blockchain games, and I'm not going to name anyone, but at the first wave of blockchain games, they were really, really lousy. It was, it was super hard to play them. I remember once I tried to play one, and it was like half an hour trying to find a way to play the game, and I couldn't. Okay, and so they were just gamified clickers that it wasn't fun to play. And but I understand it was the beginning, right?
Martin, you make excellent points. I mean, like I said, I know about blockchain and Web3, and gas fees still scare me. So thank you so much for making it so much easier for all of us. So Iasi, so when it comes to the metaverse, how do you think the gaming industry will grow in terms of adoption overall?
Okay, sure. Like I mentioned before, I think like NFT gaming is inevitable, and the evolution of Web2 gaming at a scale. I believe NFTs, the blockchain technology, unlock a full myriad of experiences that you can have both on the metaverse and on the real world, and connect those back and forth, right? I think that eSports is one of those. Just to cite an example, right? Like we had Axie last year in Barcelona, where we were in a transition as a company between the last version of our game that was Axie Infinity Classic, that remains being able to download it, but we were transitioning to the actual version of our game, the Axie Infinity Origins, right? So why don't we celebrated everything in the same place? And what we did is we make these two tournaments, these two world championships, the first two world championships of Axie Infinity, one for the classic version and one for the Origins version. And for the top 16 players of each tournament, we paid the bells for them to go to Spain and compete live. And it was, I cannot say enough how thrilling was to be there in the final, especially of Axie Classic, because it was like a big goodbye on the red carpet, right? Like saying thank you to this game that has brought so much joy to us and onto a new future, right? And it was full of moments, like seeing it as a content. We had everything that made Axie Infinity Classic so exciting throughout these 4 years that has been the main version of the game, right? Like it had crit, it had moments where bluffs were really important, just like a poker game. Like if one player played a card, but he knew the other player would play this card that could counter that, so he didn't play. And all these layers of bluffing were there, and the result was really, really emotional for all of us that have been following Axie Infinity as a competitive game. So there are some pics of capturing these high vibe moments, especially when Sebastian Pozo, also Argentinian, by the way, won that world championship, and recognizing people from the Philippines had too many problems getting visas to go to Spain because of COVID. All countries began really enclosed on themselves and couldn't travel. So he spoke some words for those in the Philippines who couldn't come to that tournament, right? So again, a champion, recognizing all these competitive players that couldn't be there, but for sure we'll meet in the future and we'll compete in the future. This sense of sportsmanship. We did in Argentina recently with Sura Gaming, that is a guild of our ecosystem, tournaments in the biggest conference of Bitcoin in Argentina, which is called the BitConf. So there we had Cody Rossi, that is a woman competing against men like in an equal scenery, but she was there not because she was a woman or anything. She was there because she was a competitor. So I want to stress how blockchain and blockchain gaming and esports create all these things. Like we tend to think as blockchain as something that happens beyond the screens, right? Like when you sit down in your phone or you sit down in your computer, you stare at your monitor and things happen there. And it's not. It creates connections that are beyond, and you can go back and forth. You nourish that relationships in the metaverse, and there you can find like real experiences in the real life where you can be together with that people and experience that, but in the real world. So that's really fascinating.
Well, thank you so much for breaking that down. I will echo that. I mean, although you do meet the people in the metaverse and this Web3 universe, you continue these relationships in the real world. And I think for me, that has been the most exciting aspect, because although I speak to people in different layers of the metaverse, I'm friends with them in real life. And obviously it transcends to what we're doing our every single day. So I definitely echo that. So thank you so much for sharing. So, it's hard to speak about all this without really talking about some controversial topics. So, compared to Martin, compared to crypto or the NFT market, do you think Web3 gaming was more stable during the FTX crash? And how can this overall be beneficial to users right now?
I
know we all have to sigh first, right?
Exactly.
Trust me, I know.
Oh my God. To be honest, I am a very positive thinker in the way that I tend to look always the half full glass, and so I think that the Terra thing, and now FTX, which was way bigger than Terra. I would say that it's a good thing in the sense that it's the market washing themselves. It's this WhatsApp cycle of saying, okay, you're gonna do that. It's basically there is washing all the bad actors and the bad practices. So I think that the negative part of that is for me is that it will slow a little bit the adoption of Web3 components and crypto in general, but in a good way that we are setting a higher bar in terms of security, in terms of compliance, and that is a really good thing. We need to go through these little nightmares in order to get there, because we don't know exactly where this is going, So we might eventually do something wrong, and we will understand that that's cannot happen, and people is actually losing money because of that. But I would like to also highlight that there are two different things here. One is the crypto, and another one is the blockchain. So you have a financial asset, and then you have the technology. And I always, when I have the opportunity to talk with new people in the space, like, you need to separate that, especially on gaming, because you might have a game that is only using NFT points. It doesn't matter about FTX or Terra or whatever, or the Bitcoin price. It doesn't matter. It's something that is there to add more value for the user. It is only a technology. Crypto is a way to use that technology, and we can do much more with that. But we need to separate all things. And I will, also like, if you allow me to pick that, a little part of the discussion you were having with Iasi, is that, about the human connection. And, after launching Geopoly, one thing that we are working right now is pretty interesting. It's a game called Life Meta. And Life Meta, it will be the first game to create NFTs based on human emotions, on feelings and sentiments. And believe me, I have been playing games for more than 40 years, and I never played with a game that actually put human emotion in the core gameplay. And we are doing that. And why we are doing that? Because the technology and blockchain allow us to create unique NFTs as the human emotions are. Each human emotion is unique, because it depends on my personality, the personality of the other side. okay, the time and place, and we are putting that. So we are creating this AAA game where basically user will be able to, partake in emotional stories with NPCs and discover human emotion by doing that and create an NFT based on that human emotion. So, and that was a journey that we discovered thanks to the technology, not Bitcoin, not FTX, that changes anything, but I wanted to highlight that because you can even create innovative content based on this technology in particular.
Thank you so much for, like I said, you guys are making this a very palpable and easy to understand, because I was even talking to my mom the other day and breaking down the financial asset and the technology and why it's different. Hablando con mami, it's like, Mom, this is what it is. So
I know. We went through that, believe me. We went through that as well.
Of course. So I definitely, I echo that motion. So Iasi, what career opportunities are there for students wanting to learn about the metaverse and obviously knowledge about Web3 overall? What would you tell them to do?
Oh, definitely, like the metaverse opens a whole new world of jobs that are or skills that we need to learn, or we need to be constructing throughout the years. I think that our generation, like the under 30s, I'm 31, so I'm on the edge, right? But the under 30s are confronting a world that has changed its fundamental cores, and institutions that were deeply entrenched into society are now struggling for the first time in centuries to find meaning or to find their place in the bigger picture, right? Like, I think education is one. Education, these long careers of, you're gonna be educated 7 years as a primary school, then you go 5 years to college, then you go 5 years to university. Depending on where you are, this implies a mortgage or some debt that you have to repay, right? And it was really planned for a world that was really predictable in terms of how a human being life should be, right? Like, there was more similarities between our grandparents and our parents that our parents have to us, right? It's a never-changing world. Economy is changing again so abruptly. We have obviously the introduction of blockchain as a disruptive technology that changes a lot. We have sadly we have political pinpoints happening all over the world that we cannot ignore, right? We cannot be indifferent to that. So I think that this brings the necessity for the people that are being educated to the future and are trying to build their future themselves, writing their story, that they need to be more aware and ever changing for different situations. There's a book that I really like that was written by I think it's Andrea Oppenheimer, something like that. Oppenheimer was the surname, that it talks about the jobs of the future, right? And you maybe need to think right now, if you're 18, not what you want to be from 18 to your death, but what 5 things you want to be until you're 18 years old, until you pass away, in this world. So this was not the case before this generation. So
Yep.
I think that being a fast learner, being able to understand, to critically think about the media and what we read and understand, knowing to read between the lines about the information that reaches us, because globalization also has bringing an abundance of information, right? And it's more now about how we process and filter that information to stay truthy to what a world representation, what's truthy to a world representation than getting that information in the first place. So I think the skills that we need to have moving forward are pretty different, and we need to tell our colleagues, and our siblings, our known people, our friends, our younger friends, that they are a generation that will have an abundance of information. The information will be there for them. Like, you just need to Google stuff. But it is what you do with that information that will mark your path or write your story in life, right? It's more hands-on than in the past. That's what I'm trying to say, right? So in terms of gaming in particular, now leaving all the cryptic thing aside, right? But I think that there are three kinds of players or jobs that are going starting to appear in the metaverse. The first one is that we are seeing that already is the communications community guy. Let's say it's a guy who is friendly, who loves to spend time in forums discussing about topics and games and lores and about all everything about the game, right? And he is the new HR person for the games of the future, right? Because he could assess the personality and the skills, that both good and bad, of people in the community, and he can recommend with a really strong basis of what he's saying, examples on the interaction that has with the human person about what he's capable of, or what are his motives, or how can he bring, job. Then we have the sports guy, like Martin mentioned this twice in our conversation. Being a professional sport person in the metaverse or in eSports is really hard. We have a really bad perception of the eSports player as a whole, right? I said maybe socially awkward, maybe, I don't know, a person that has not great social skill, and that's why it's because it's there, and we don't give them the benefit of the doubt that it's a really skillful person, that he can express his skill in that tool that it didn't exist before but exists now because of the internet and because of the evolution of systems, these graphic motors that can help you do so much, right? But they train a lot. They train like 6 days a week, at least 9 hours a day. So it's really, they're really perfecting their craft up to the limits. And they inspired us in this entertainment, right? Like, esports is just another form of entertainment with a really specific purpose that is the differentiator that separates them from the whole content, right? In general terms, like, you do just generic thing, then you are competing with YouTube, with Amazon, with Netflix, and whatever. You go too hardcore, you go too niche, then few people will watch you because you become like poker, right? Like, if you're not in the world of poker, you're not gonna feel amazed by a great player in poker. So that's another job of the future, right? And then we have like the creative people in between, right? Like people who are going to inspire us with their art, with trying to make in the world what they imagine, and they have most resources than ever to materialize that. Like being Coco Chanel Coco Chanel was so awesome in the time that she was because it was so hard to be her. Now we have a lot of resources, and we are going to find the Coco Chanels of the metaverse, right? Like, we can state that Louis Vuitton made an intervention with Riot Games in the last World Cup, the last World Championship, made a skin for a character. That's digital fashion, right? So there's a lot of places for new jobs. So I would say to people, like, stay vigilant, like, be a self-learner, learn to self-learn, and don't feel hopeless, because there's a lot of places where it's almost like the world tune, where a place where every person there will be a place perfect for every person in the world. So I think that's the message I will give to everyone.
Well, thank you so much for breaking that down. And specifically for both of you, as a member of the Blockchain Game Alliance, how does the organization as a whole and its mission align with your company's goals? What do you think, Martin? How does the Blockchain Game Alliance overall align with everything that you've been talking to us about?
I can start with this if you want, Martin. Yeah, sure. So as I said before, like, I think that NFTs and blockchain technology applied to games, let's be more generic, right? It's the future of gaming. Why? Because it validates or it legalizes, so to speak, a way of gaming that was already happening. So it is about a thing that is going to get more attention rather than a huge discovery. So I think that alliances like the Blockchain Game Alliance and others are great places to speak and to exchange ideas about the future that we're going to face, right? Because let's mix it up a little bit with the other terror of the blockchain space, that is regulation from the states, right? Like that is going to come sometime, right? Both
Yes.
for crypto, assets and positions, the financial market, and maybe on games. Like recently, loot boxes have been regulated in Europe in particular, because there is a relation that needs to be studied and addressed. What's the limit between a loot box and gambling, right? Or the difference, right? So I think that these spaces are really key to be formed prior to when regulation comes, because discussions of regulation, let's say, because Blockchain Game Alliance and others are places where some maybe like think tanks, right, act as a way to move the discussion to the right places, and not for an arbitrary regulation that could hinder the potential and the progress of the whole space. So I really think that Blockchain Game Alliance is a place for exchanging ideas, for meeting new people, for doing a better graph altogether, a place that understands that the victory of the whole space is not about one game, but the whole space. And obviously to have proper and discussions that are really investigated for if the moment comes to have a big discussion, or a discussion that is more serious, we are prepared to direct those discussions to the right places and not the wrong places.
Well, wonderful. Thank you, Iasi, for sharing that with us. And how about you, Martin? How has the Blockchain Game Alliance aligned with what you guys are doing?
Our mission is about growing through innovation. So I believe that in that sense, we are definitely aligned. Blockchain, the BGA is about innovation. Is driving this amazing new technology to a specific category, which is gaming, and we have been there for quite a long time. So for us, it's about education, and network. And in that sense, I would like to mention I founded the company Widow Games 10 years ago, but 6 months ago I founded incubator, a blockchain incubator only for video games called Gamevolution, and we are working with a separate team. And our mission there in Gamevolution, which is way much aligned also to the BGA, is that we help these, let's say, traditional gaming companies to expand their creations to the Web3 category, because there is a lot of things to do there. There's a lot of value to add to the players. So we put this separated team in another place. It's basically in Poland and in Georgia, and we are helping companies all over the world. And the first thing that we do is like, okay, you should come as well to the BGA. Okay, we need to to work together, and we are actually talking with the BGA members as well, saying, okay, what can we do locally in Latin America? What is that we can do? We know the people, we know the place. We know the language. We know, if you take Brazil, we have just one common language across Latin America and Miami as well, because
Yes.
most people speak Spanish rather than English. But
Yep.
and it's and Spain as well. So we are talking about that as well. It's okay. Let me help you in that, in your endeavor. Okay, the guys are doing an amazing job, and we really want to help them to expand that, to get to more companies that they can understand that it's not that difficult to take the advantage of this technology. Okay, there's a lot to be done there, and we don't want blockchain companies doing video games. And this could be hard to say, but I really want video games companies doing blockchain gaming, because that is going to drive the mass adoption. Really good games, not just the hype or trying to get the new token. Okay, really good games. So where should we look? For the for those development communities, especially across this emerging market, that the regulations are still to be there, so they have the freedom and the liberty to create new things. And definitely we are super aligned, not only with Widow Games but also with Gamevolution as well, trying to help them to have their own.
And what words of inspiration do you guys have for our NFT Studio 24 viewers about our builders, our creators, our innovators? What words of encouragement do you guys have for our audience?
Definitely, I mean, go for it. I mean, you don't have no excuse right now to go for it. No excuse at all. Okay, the technology is free. You can use it whatever you want. It's not that difficult for a developer to learn, for instance, start using Solidity if you want to develop for Polygon or Ethereum. I mean, it's not that difficult, and you can do that 100% free. So there is no excuse right now that if you are a creative person, if you are an illustrator, if you are an animator, a 3D animator, 3D modeler, or you are simply a passionate gamer, to start doing your first step. I mean, you have no excuse. You have to go for that. And believe me, we are right now in a beautiful period of time when when everything is there to be made. And this is not going to last long. Okay, we are going to see big players in the coming years. Okay, with this huge project, and now is the option, and now is the time for small indie developers to really decide where this is going to. Okay, so yeah, take advantage of that and create value on the blockchain. It's there for that reason.
Awesome. And how about you, Iasi?
Yeah, definitely. I will talk to the guys that are next to finding their first job. I know that the world that's ever changing is scary because you may not know what's coming next. Like it is written more in the short term. But as Martin said, and I think exactly as him, this is the time. Never ever before it has been so cheap and so easy to put your mind into create something new, learn something new, test an idea, a business idea. It's really cheap compared to other moments of the entire human history. So I would encourage to everyone to go for it. I know it's scary. You will feel lost. You will question yourself a lot of times. But it's about believing in what in your craft or going. Don't be affected by what the people you think about your idea. Right? Like just try to picture yourself in the end line and go for it. It's gonna be hard. I'm not gonna lie to you, but being hard is a signal that you're going to make it. So that would be my advice.
Wonderful. Thank you to both of you. This is amazing conversation and encouragement to a lot of people that want to enter this brand new world. A very big special hug to both of you from Miami and all of our viewers here at NFT Studio 24. Iasi and Martin, thank you so much, and I can't wait to see you guys.
Thank you very much for the invitation. Thank you, Larry.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.